All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mr. Rice.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right. Excellent, excellent. Well, I want to welcome you guys to a brand new iteration of something that we've been doing for quite some time. There are some old hands in the room, and by old hands, I mean folks who have done this before, who know that typically it's Dr. Pollard, Dr. Smith, and I who go around and talk about the education budget. We normally pick locations, 5, one in each council member district, and talk about the education budget and some of the things and the innovative things that we're doing. And we heard from a lot of folks through feedback that while it was helpful, especially the folks who had been to it multiple times, that they really weren't getting an opportunity to understand more about philosophically what was happening with the system. Understanding about numbers is great, but the reality is folks need to understand what our vision is. What our vision is for education and that true paradigm that goes from 0 to J, or as we like to say, pre-K to J, and you'll hear that a lot. That's our new focus. You'll see on the council our investment in early childhood education. You'll see it when it comes to what we're prepping a lot of our future workforce to go into those fields to prepare for the need. We've seen it with the Kirwan Commission recommendations and its focus on early childhood education as well. And so there's just a lot of great synergy, and so we felt it was an opportunity for us to switch it up. And I can't tell you how happy I am to have added the last leg of the four-legged stool. For a while it was 3, and 3 is great, but folks know in physics 4 is better for stability. And so from that perspective, I'm very happy that we're now joined by Stu Edelstein. Dr. Edelstein, our leader of universities at Shady Grove, our other education partner here in the county. So let's give Dr. Edelstein a round of applause. So for those who don't know me, my name is Craig Rice. I am a member of the Montgomery County Council. I actually represent this district, so we're in District 2, so welcome. I also chair the Education and Culture Committee for the Montgomery County Council. I also chair the Education Subcommittee for the Maryland Association of Counties that serves all 24 jurisdictions in the state of Maryland. I also served on the Kirwan Commission, which was the Commission on Innovation and Excellence in Education. So my mother, who was a teacher and principal, did a very good job of making sure that her son understood how important education is for all of us. So with that, I want to make sure and just give you some ground rules for this evening. I see all the smiling faces and all the beautiful smiles, and I know that we're all going to be very respectful and courteous this evening. As my mother always says, don't act in a way that you wouldn't want your children or your mother to see you in, and so we expect to be on our best behavior this evening. Polite discourse is great, but polite disrespect, not so much. So let's be kind to each other. We've got a great opportunity here. Share your ideas, share your thoughts. We have index cards, and so we're encouraging everyone to fill out an index card with questions. We will be pulling those at the end of the presentation and making sure that we answer to the best of our ability. If there's something that we can't answer now and we need to get more information, we all are very ably staffed this evening to be able to get that information to you in a very quick turnaround. So I promise you, any questions that aren't answered this evening, we will get back to you and make sure that happens. I want to make sure you also signed in because you'll get copies of the presentation that we're delivering today, as well as pertinent information that may be brought up that we say, well, we'll get that out to everyone. You'll receive that information as well. So I just wanted to get those things out of the way. So let's talk about education in Montgomery County. Oh, please silence all cell phones. That's great, because it's a perfect, whoever did that, thank you. So let's talk a little bit about education and why education is important. And you'll see here, and you're going to see this a little bit later, but you see, as we go through this paradigm, what are the things we always talk about? I'm a dad. I have a daughter who's applying to colleges, and hopefully will get in where she wants and get great scholarships so I don't have to go bankrupt. And we can talk about that a little bit later too. What do we all care about for our kids? We want to make sure they have success, right? They're happy, they're able to provide for themselves. We oftentimes wish that they end up even more successful than we are. Well, we know that that equates to being able to provide for themselves and be happy in what it is that they're doing. We all have been, and so I'll raise my hand first. I started off as an aerospace engineering major, switched my major to computer science, ended up working in sales and marketing, did business development for the government of Puerto Rico, and now I'm here as your county council member. Long path, lots of money, finally got where I wanted to be. I will tell you that when you look at this pathway, it's really important, and everyone plays a role in terms of supporting that and making sure it happens, from pre-K to J and all in between, because at each one of these outlets, there are off-ramps that allow for you to enter into the workforce if properly prepared. And that's the key, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about this evening. So, I want to talk a little bit about what we do in terms of spending, because I want folks to know we are the fiduciary arm of the government, and so from that perspective, I do just want to mention, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, about our budgets. So we have two budgets, our capital and operating budgets. And our operating budgets are what we deal with when it comes to teacher salaries and when we deal with paying our police officers and all kinds of things. It's all of those operating to keep the doors open and the lights on. And our capital expenses are actually the buildings themselves, but also the roads, the infrastructure. Sometimes when we buy our ride-on buses, those kinds of things, we use capital expenditures to pay for that. Our capital improvements plan is laid out over 6 years, so we have an ability for us to spread this out. You may hear a little bit about this from Dr. Smith. I know there's one person in the room this evening that's very happy about our capital improvements budget representing the area of Poolsville and the great recommendation that the superintendent's made in terms of getting a new high school there, but there's a lot that goes on. We're woefully short when it comes to our capital, so you'll hear about that from some of my colleagues as well. You'll all hear about some of the successes also. So there's a lot that we're doing, but a lot more that we could do as well. So let's talk about the spending on education and look at the numbers. The county executive's proposed budget this year, and I talked about where we can fall a little bit short, is actually a 4.3% decrease overall. That means that that's less spending for schools, less spending for Montgomery College, less spending for roads, infrastructure that we need. All of that's incredibly important. The Montgomery County Executive's budget actually funds about 94% of what the Board of Education requested, and it funds about 92% of what Montgomery College requested. There's about $29.1 million for the Early Care and Education Initiative, and then when it comes to the state of Maryland, the governor actually did pretty well. The governor's proposal is about $47.9 billion, a 1.5% increase, $733 million for statewide school construction, $7.3 billion for K-12 education, $350 million for Kirwan, and the Build to Learn Act, of course, is providing an additional $2.2 billion in school construction funding by leveraging casino revenues. That's their proposal so far. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the status of that shortly. So, budget process. When we have our budget process, it starts, of course, with the county executive submitting his budget, the capital and CIP in January. He's already done that. And so on March 16th will be the next iteration where the county executive will actually send over his operating budget to us. On March 30th is when the General Assembly, which is where we're tied in via our state funding, will pass its budget bill. So we'll know how much additional funding we're getting from the state for both capital and operating at that point. And then in May, we'll actually decide on our capital and operating budget and put that forward. Now, I did want to talk very quickly about something that's at the very top of that list. We always talk about state and local funding for education. Who's missing? The feds. There's a lot of conversation right now about, on the federal level, we have presidential candidates who are all talking about making community college affordable, making it free, and that's great. The reality is that the federal government a long time ago, a little dirty little secret in 1976, said that they were going to fund when it came to special education and for our children that were at promise at risk. They said they were going to give us additional funding to make sure that states and localities would be able to pay the additional money that we know it takes to help to make sure that those children are educated. Do you think they made true on their promise? The answer is no. And so who suffers as a result? All of your localities and state governments. And so Senator Chris Van Hollen has put forth bicameral legislation called the PACT Act, P-A-C-T, and it's designed to actually bring the federal government over the next 10 years up to speed when it comes to giving us the amount of money that we need for Title I funding and IDEA. So if you care about education funding, but if you care about anything related to not having us raise your taxes more, if you care about us making sure that we're delivering on the promises that we tell you about how we're going to deliver on capital and operating expenses for everything, not just education, you should support this piece of legislation. It's incredibly important. So, I want to give you a quick update. It's hot off the press about some of the things that are happening in Annapolis. So, one of the things, and I'm not going to steal Dr. Pollard's thunder, she'll probably talk about this a little bit too, is a little thing called CADE funding. See? And unfortunately, this year, the governor has shorted our community colleges significantly. I'm not going to get into detail. Dr. Pollard's going to talk about that, but that's something we need to pay very close attention to. All jurisdictions, so again, I told you my role with MACO as the Maryland Association of Counties Education Subcommittee leader. And so we are very active and involved in this in terms of making sure that we can communicate to the General Assembly that they need to make a change. Now, speaking of the General Assembly, I want to talk very briefly about our Kirwan Commission. So the Kirwan Commission, I spent the last 3 years working with some of my colleagues across the state, some of them state Board of Education members, some of them business leaders, union representatives for our school system, all together to talk about how, and other legislators, about how we can make the education system in the state of Maryland better, how we can make it globally competitive, how we can ensure that when it comes to performance on PISA and others, the state of Maryland can be renowned like the state of Massachusetts. When everyone talks about the top of education, Massachusetts always tops the list, and everyone says how great they are. And in fact, their rankings actually back it up. But I will tell you a dirty little secret about that. I'm sharing a lot of secrets tonight. Massachusetts, in all of their success, never fixed their opportunity equity achievement gap. They will acknowledge that that's still the thing that's broken. They raised everyone, but they didn't narrow the gap. And so as we were looking at constructing a system that would work for us, we were very intentional about the fact that anything that we did would not just lift everyone, because lifting everyone is important, but at the same time, we also have to narrow that gap that exists between our African American and our Latinx students and ensure that there's parity when it comes to them, again, as I said before, having that level of success that's important to them. And so these past 3 years have been incredible. I've had an opportunity to actually go to China and South Korea and meet with their ministers of education. I've had a chance to look at their education systems and understand what it is that they do differently. I will tell you another thing. While class size, some feel is important, and it is to an extent, but all of those competing countries that are better than us in terms of performance have larger class size. Now, before you panic, before you say, oh my God, I can't believe that Councilmember Rice just said no to class reductions in class size, here's the reason why. Because they have all the other things that are working, so therefore they can have a larger class size. What we did is kind of backwards. And again, it's no fault of anyone's. It's that we knew that these things had to happen, but we focused so much on class size and we didn't focus on the other things that we needed to fix. And the reality was, if we fixed those other things in the classroom, we wouldn't have to focus on class size as much. It's a very interesting dynamic, and I encourage you to sit on it and think about it. We'll talk about it a little bit more, and if you have questions and if you want to push back, that's what this opportunity is about. It really is, and we can do that at the end. So, 5 major policy areas over the next 10 years that we were focused on. Early childhood education was the first one. I actually chaired that subcommittee. High quality and diverse teachers and leaders. We wanted to make sure that our principals and our paraprofessionals, all of our teachers look like our community, look like the classroom. We wanted to make sure that college and career readiness pathways, CCR, and we wanted to make sure that by 10th grade, folks were ready for that. So by 10th grade, they would either be able to, wouldn't be required to, but would be able to say, I want to go into a career. I want to go into culinary arts. I want to be a chef. And we can start getting them prepared to be able to do that. Just as my wife, she hates it when I do this, decided that she wanted to be a hairstylist and got her cosmetology license in high school. And now she owns her own business in downtown Bethesda. Those are the things that we really didn't support our kids in doing before. We said, wait, you've got to go to college. It's absolutely imperative. College is the way. That's what you have to do. And if you're not going to be successful. Well, we know that's not true. Anytime that you pick up the phone and call a plumber and electrician, tell me how much you're paying per hour. Resources to ensure all students are successful. Incredibly important. That's for our at-risk kids, our at-promise kids, to ensure that when we have concentrations of poverty, that we're ensuring that we give additional resources. It's the concept of community schools, making sure that there's wraparound that's there, mental health, making sure that we've got language training for parents as well as students, making sure we have mentors, all things that we know are incredibly helpful when it comes to the success of a child. And then governance and accountability. We've got to make sure we manage the fact that we're putting out this additional money and make sure it's going where we need it to go and that it's doing what we want it to do. And so I think it represents a great blueprint for Maryland's future. $255 million already allocated, set aside to start to roll out these Kirwan initiatives. And $355 million in between 2020 and 2021, and about $370 million in 2021 to 2022. I say these numbers because I think it's incredibly important. There are a lot of folks who are saying, well, maybe Kirwan's not going to happen. For those of you who know about Kirwan, have heard about it, and for even those of you who don't or may have just heard some scuttlebutt about it, and it's too expensive and it's not affordable, and so therefore it's not going to happen. The reality is we already have funding locked in place as a part of this budget for 3 years. And because of that, you could actually get from 2019 to 2022, anybody want to raise their hand? What happens in 2022? Election. We have a new governor that's going to be here in 2022. So the legislature could easily say, well, we're not going to touch the funding aspect and leave that up to the next governor to decide when they come in 2022. That's a distinct possibility, folks. I was there in Annapolis. I kind of know how they think. And so, look, that's certainly a possible option. We'd love to see some sort of secured funding in place to ensure that we know that there will be those kind of initiatives protected, but the reality is that it may not be. But we can still pass a bill that guarantees that will change the paradigm of education in the state of Maryland for the better. Tried and true methods. I will just share with you one thing. We had the state of Massachusetts actually come to us for one of our current commission meetings after they had a chance to evaluate our proposal. What do you think they said about our plan? You think they said it was better than theirs? They actually did. In public, on record, said that if Maryland instituted their plan, it would be the best education system in the nation, hands down. And this is from the architect who actually created the grand bargain that is the Massachusetts Initiative in Investment in Education. We have the opportunity. It's right before us. And we have to push this across the finish line. And the reason why it's so important is because it represents the first leg of this four-legged stool that is the success of our kids in our community. So, who do we think is going to benefit from this the most? A lot of our kids who aren't performing well now. Who are the advocates for those kids? Yeah, a lot of them probably aren't in this room right now because they're probably working their second or third job. We have to do this because we know it's the right thing for us, and I will tell you that my firm belief in the fact that if you care about education, it really means that everything else falls into place. Healthcare disparities, income disparities, when it comes to crime and prevention, all of those things are directly tied. I'll close with one thing. I'll share with you a story. 2 days ago, I was dropping my daughter off at Topgolf. She works there part-time. And I stopped in front of the Starbucks. And she went in to get some super expensive, fruity something. And as I was sitting out there waiting for her, a gentleman kind of slowly approached the car. He kind of waved at me. I looked back at him and I waved. I thought, oh, he knows me. Councilmember Rice, hi, how are you doing? He was like, he didn't know me. He was motioning for me to roll down my window. I rolled down my window. I said, hi, how are you? He said, sir, I mean no harm. I mean no harm. I just want to let you know, praise be to Allah. He said, listen, I just got out of jail. I just got out of jail. He had a folder with him. He opened up this folder. He said, can I approach? I said, he showed me his folder. He had just been released from the courthouse earlier that morning. And he was talking about how he had gone over to our WorkSource Montgomery facility and was trying to get a job. He immediately wanted to get to work to make sure that he could provide for himself. And he told me about how he really didn't get the response and the support that was necessary, and so therefore he was asking if I could spare a couple dollars. I told him, sir, I'm going to make a call right now. You go back over there and you tell them that Councilmember Rice just is going to call over there. I gave him a name of someone that he could ask for, Kathy Matthews, who's the head of our Up County Regional Services Center. And I said, and she'll walk you through the steps in terms of what you need. We can offer you temporary cash assistance as well as food stamps immediately. We're going to get you back on your feet and get you where you need to be. And my daughter had just jumped in the car at that point, and he said, thank you so much, God bless, I really appreciate this, and you're sure they're going to be able to do something? And I said, sure, sir, they will. I said, we may have failed you before, but we're not going to fail you today. The reality is that every person that I see who follows in that pathway represents a failure for us in terms of our system. We let them down. They didn't let us down. And it's up to us, it's our responsibility to make sure that we put them back on a pathway so that they can be successful. But wouldn't it be better if we never had that experience to begin with? Wouldn't it be better if that man hadn't had a large amount of his time taken away and could have been productive? It would have been so much better financially for us. It would have been more tax revenue for us. Would have meant we wouldn't have had to pay to jail him. Whatever crime he committed would not have been committed on society. It would have been better for us. I continue to wonder where the losses are in investing on the front end. I'm so sick and tired of saying that we need to repair broken people when we can build people up to be resilient and successful from the start. That's what this paradigm shift is about. Investing on the front end and making sure that we can guarantee that our children have every opportunity it is to be successful. So I turn it over to my school partners who will share with you a little bit of their vision about how they intend to do just that. Thank you, guys.
So I'm going to stand over here so that I can see the screen because I can't talk from these slides. So my name is Jack Smith. I've been the superintendent of Montgomery County Public Schools since July 1st, 2016. It has been an honor and a pleasure and a challenging job. And I say that just very sincerely. It's a really demanding, really satisfying, wonderful opportunity that I've had here for the last 3.5 years. And one of the things that I shared the very first night that the school board brought me out in front of the media and said, this is the person we're probably going to name in a few weeks for this job was, they said, well, what do you think? I said, well, Montgomery County has done profoundly well for so many kids for so long. It's been amazing and impressive. Not all students. And that's just a fact. In 1972, the students in Montgomery County were about 92% white. We're almost entirely middle and upper class. And that has shifted. But I want to talk about that in a few minutes because I think it goes right to Councilmember Rice's point a few minutes about broken people and some really misconceptions there are out in our society about who we serve, why we serve them, and what they have the potential to do if we create access, opportunity, and unleash their potential. So let's talk for a minute about who we are. This is a flyer we use all the time. That number's actually gone up since October 1st. This is the official October 1st, September 30th count. So, 4 or 5 months ago, it was 165, 267 when we said to the state of Maryland, at this exact minute, this is the number of kids. Because remember, it changes every hour, every day. It does. Kids move in and out constantly. Since that day, it's gone up 1,000 kids. 1,000 more students are now in the system than that number shows as of the 15th of January, and I'll get another update on the last day of the month. You also see at the bottom, and I don't know if I have the capacity to have a laser pointer here or not, but it doesn't really matter, where it talks about services. You see 11.8% of the students are being served in special education in that little red dot. You see 17.1% are being served in English for speakers of other languages in the little aqua colored dot, and then 37.3% in the larger purple colored or dark blue dot are being served because of their economic status. Those numbers in 2000 were about 12% in special education, so it's statistically the same. A lot more students, because we have more students, but percentage-wise the same. Was about between 6 and 7% for speakers of other languages, and it was 23.3% in poverty. So I told you in 1972, I showed you what we were on that day in time, and I just told you what it was 20 years ago. Here's the point. The students we're serving today are just as talented, just as capable. They have just as many dreams, hopes, ambitions as any group of students we've ever seen. They accomplish just as much. But when Craig talks about there not being broken people, sometimes people think that individuals, children, adults who are economically disadvantaged, there's some problem. Or if you speak another language, that's a deficit. You don't speak English. Or if you have an area in your life where you have a disability. It's just not true. You know, I'm 62 years old. I'm not going to stand here and say things to make you like me or dislike me, but I'm going to show you just a few slides and a few examples of what we're doing and who we are that illustrate that. I'll give you one more 20-year-ago statistic. 20 years ago, we had 130,000 students, and we were serving about 7,000 of them in advanced placement. Right now, I've just told you we have 160, as of last spring, 165,000 or so students, and we are serving 41,000 of them in high school. That's the difference between serving 6% of the population in 2000 and 25% of the population in 2020. Our students are amazing, and they will do amazing things in this world if we create access, if we support them with real opportunity that says, you can do it, we're going to help, we're going to make sure you do it, and this is what you've accomplished, so that you walk out with real confidence, a real sense of efficacy that you belong, and you can make a positive difference in your own life, your family's life, and your community's life. That's what it's all about. So I'm always saying, all means all. And people throw that back at me. They come to the board table and say, well, you don't give as much money in this subject area as that, so all can't mean all to you. Or we didn't get this, so all can't mean that all to you. Well, those are all different interpretations, and that's fine. I have no argument with that. I'll tell you what I mean when I say all means all. That every single student get access to all of the opportunities we have. First of all, to have strong foundational learning, that they read by the end of third grade on or above grade level, that they write on or above grade level, that they make good progress in mathematics and all of the other subjects so that they can access any learning they want to do between pre-K and 8. And I think all means all has to mean very soon that all students receive pre-K services. Every student who needs it, every family who wants it. That's what I mean by all means all. And then when they get to high school, they are fully prepared to go to Montgomery College if they want in dual enrollment, take a lot of advanced placement classes, enroll in our NATEF program where you can graduate as a technician for the largest computer in our society, the automobile, graduate at 18 with a high school diploma, walk into any of the vendors that you see in our community and start at a salary of in the mid $60,000 if you have the right certifications that we can provide you free of charge. We're also doing it in aviation. We're also doing it with your plumber. We're also doing it in biomedical, pre-engineering, fire safety, police academy, anywhere you want to go. Wherever you want to go, we want to make sure you can get there. But if we don't get you well prepared pre-K-8 with foundational skills, then you're fighting just to get an opportunity. So that's got to be the focus of our work. Pre-K-8, high school. Access, you get in. Opportunity will support you, and then we go as far as we can. So early learning, since 2017-18, with the total support of the school board and the county council, and Ms. Modrowski, one of our school board members, is here tonight, and so she's been voting for these things every year. We have increased over 1,000 students moving from half-day to full-day programs, and we have more students in pre-K than we did in 2017. We're serving more students, and we're serving more of them full-day. If you have 2,000 students in pre-K, half-day, and you want to move to full-day pre-K for your students, but you have exactly the same amount of money to work with, how many students will you serve the next year? 1,000. You lose half your seats. Instead, we have expanded pre-K for over 1,000 students to full-day, and we're serving more students than we were before. But that leaves us with about 6,000 students who are either served in the private provider area, which I fully support, and Craig Rice and I have worked together to publicly say this needs to be a community-wide solution. We've got to serve about 6,000 more students or know that they're being served. And I don't need to check up on families, but if they say, we have this, but we're not going to be able to continue to afford it, there's got to be a way, a mechanism in the community to make sure it's accessible, because many people who make what often is thought of a middle income can't afford pre-K for their children and pay for their house or whatever else they have to do. It's just too difficult. It's got to change. I guess I won't go forward. Another thing we're doing is looking at innovative calendar schools. We've launched 5 more dual language schools. So we have 5 more schools in the county. We would like to have about 25 more. and we're going to work toward that. We didn't add any this year because of a new curriculum rollout, but we'll be back a year from now to add those. But we've added 2 innovative calendar schools. Those students go to school instead of 182 days, they have the opportunity to go to school 210 days at Arcola Elementary School and Roscoe Nix Elementary School. This is the first year of operation. They started their school year on July 8th. They went till mid-August. They had about a 2.5, 3-week break. They started up the first regular day of school. They'll follow the school calendar till mid-June. They'll have about a 2-week break, and they'll start back right after the 4th of July week. That's a tremendous opportunity and access for students who experience economic disadvantage. It is. We need to do this in all of our schools that are above 50% poverty. It costs about $1 million a school to do it, based on the size of the school, but it's in that range, $750 to $1.2. So we have the first 2, so let's watch and see what's going on in these 2 schools. And maybe listen also. Is there sound? Oh, that thing right there? Right there. Oh, it's up. I heard a ding like it was going to work. Nope. How about if I move on while you guys work on that, and we'll show it after you get it figured out. So let's talk about middle school for a minute. One of the things that happens with middle school, and I spent most of my adult life in middle and high school as a teacher and a principal. And I've been away from that for about 17 years, I think. But I spent most of my life from age 21 when I became an English teacher in Washington State until I left the school building in 2002, 2003 school year. Middle school is an area and a place where we really need to continue to shift the way we think about student learning. It's a profound need we have. And one of the things we're doing is looking at how we can make middle school a more enriched experience. And students have to gain those foundational skills. So let me give you some numbers. In 2016, we had about 5,000 students who completed Algebra 1 by the end of 8th grade successfully. We had a small percentage that didn't, about 15 or 20%. That means they either didn't pass the class or they didn't pass the state assessment. That's a graduation requirement in the state of Maryland. We looked at the access and we started going out and looking for students. We don't want to put a student in Algebra 1 who can't do multiplication, who doesn't know fractions. But what about all the students who do, but didn't turn all their homework in, or got a C in 8th grade math, but could do mental math faster than anybody in the room? So we began to look at potential and our own biases about why we recommend students and don't. And we begin to gather a set of measures around each student and say, how can we do this differently to reach more students? By the end of 2018, over 3 school years, we had about 8,200 students complete Algebra 1 successfully by the end of 8th grade. So over 3,000 students in 3 years. How did that happen? We changed what we looked for. Instead of looking for perfect students who already knew the answer, we look for students who are ready and have the potential to do it, the will and the desire to do it, and want to move ahead. What does that mean in high school when you complete your high school math state requirement at the end of 8th grade? It means you are free to pursue anything. It's not hanging there over your head. And that's successfully completed. So people will say that and say, well, the percentage went down about 7%, so or 9%. So let's think about that for a minute. Let's do some math together. So you have 5,000 students, and they complete at a rate of 70% successfully What is 70% of 5,000? 3,500, right? Check my math. Mathematicians agree. What is 60% of 8,000? Anybody know? 4,800? Check my math. So which is a better system? Which one reaches more kids? And I will very bluntly say, but I'm not proud to say, the bulk of those 3,000 kids, more of them were students in poverty and students of color. Many more. That changed. And I'll just pause here and tell us, many of you have heard me say this. Paul's heard me say it so many times he doesn't want to hear it anymore, probably. I am from a long line, a large family in Eastern Washington that has one thing overwhelmingly in common, a long line of people who were high school dropouts. I don't say that with pride, or I couldn't even say it for many years of my life. I was uncomfortable because I thought, how's it sound if you're a teacher or a principal and you say, my brother dropped out, my parents dropped out, my aunts and uncles dropped out? But what I say to you is, it's our obligation to go into our schools, know where kids are, whether they're at the highest levels, as so many kids here have been, whether they're somewhere there in that vast middle range, or they're really struggling to even stay in school, to find them and support them to move forward. And middle school is the place to do it, and this is one example. Montgomery Can Code, expanding coding opportunities for middle schools, especially middle school students, especially those students who cannot afford it in the summer, across all middle schools, so it's not only in middle schools where students have more resources. And to do this, we're going to have over 1,000 students this summer, and that's by working with the County Council, Mr. Rice, Apple, and the Talent Ready program across the 6 jurisdictions. We got a $6 million grant from JP Morgan, and my 2 colleagues here and I were meeting this morning about it, and making sure this is about finding kids, every kid, getting them access, getting them to the threshold of foundational learning, and then letting them go as far as they want to go. Let's see if we can watch this one about Finance Park at Thomas Edison High School of Technology. Correct.
So today is the 1-year celebration of the opening of Junior Achievement Finance Park Montgomery. We're celebrating our first year in which every single 7th grade student passed through our facility learning financial literacy. That's 12,500 students have already appreciated this facility.
But this isn't just about financial literacy. Personal finance instruction and financial literacy is very, very important to us as a district. We want every single one of our students to cross the stage prepared for the world ahead as it relates to their personal finance. But we also want them to be prepared for the world ahead as it relates to their careers. This experience here is part of a whole continuum of career exploration. MCPS is transforming the way that we look at preparing students for life after high school. It's not just about preparing students for college. It's about preparing them for academic futures and post-secondary education, absolutely, but it's about preparing them for careers and for life. We are building the quality and rigor of our programs at schools like this one. We are transforming the way that we think about accessing programs like a school like Edison, as well as building up stakeholder awareness and understanding of the vast opportunities there are in the economy, as well as the programs that exist in our school system.
7th grade is a critical moment in which students are starting to think about their first job and starting to experiment with their first income. We really hope that this experience that they've had at Finance Park will help them make the foundations of their spending and savings decisions going into the future, and that they'll continue to reflect upon what they learned here and make solid financial choices that help them achieve their goals.
It's our first experience in MCPS with thinking about what do I want to do in my life, and how does what I choose to do with my education, with my career choices, affect my lifestyle choices. And everything we know about the millennial generation tells us that that's very, very important to them. They want to do good work, They want to have a certain kind of lifestyle, and they need to understand how all those things come together. And then that continues through 7th grade, 8th grade, into 9th and 10th grade, so that we're really helping kids understand that when we say college and career ready, we really should say career and college ready, because college fits into your career. It's a part of your career. It is not your career, because if college is in your career, if college is your career, then you live in your parents' basement at age 35. It's true. I have 5 children, adult children. I understand these things. So we have to be really clear with kids. And high school, dual enrollment. We just want to call your attention to this. 2 years ago, we had 8 students who received their Associate of Arts degree in the same week. Actually, they got their AA from DeRionne before they got their diploma from us. But we didn't care. It was good. 8 of them. Last spring, we had 14. This spring, we'll have 47. In the next 2 years, we'll go into the hundreds, 200s, 300s already in the pipeline. And this morning, that's what we were talking about. How do we build this out? It's not for everyone, but we have 12,000 students per grade level. We don't have any lack of students. What we need to do is make sure we have all of the options they need, our community needs, our state needs for the future. And that's really what this is about. This is one of the things I'm most pleased about, is this partnership and the ability to pull these things together on behalf of students. A lot of other students will go and do the very traditional college prep part. Others will go and do a career pathway and walk out with a licensure, or several of them bound together in a bundle. And who knows what you're going to do in your lifetime, because I can guarantee you, as a accidental college student who graduated at just before I turned 22 and went to work teaching English, I never thought I'd be in Montgomery County standing in front of you as the school superintendent. It wasn't in my 5, 10, or 20-year plan. We don't know where life will take us, but the better we're prepared to go there, the more options and opportunities we have. Really is exactly how it works. These numbers are from College Board. Oops. I find these numbers to be very troubling and very exciting. They're exciting for Montgomery County. They're troubling beyond Montgomery County. I want to call your attention to all students. We've increased the number of AP exams taken from 2017 to 2019 from up to 4,585. Maryland dropped by 3,709. I'm troubled by that. And the nation increased by 117,000. The line that most troubles me is the Black or African American line. We've increased by 783. 2,223 reductions in the state of Maryland, and 2,322 total additional exams across the state, or the nation, across the nation. When I saw these, I made our people go back and call the College Board and say, there must be a mistake. When I talked about these at a press event recently, they had a person from the College Board there to sit in the audience because they thought they might get some hard questions about this. This is why we have to create access, we have to create real opportunity, and we have to support students to the highest levels of achievement in whatever they want to do. It's absolutely fundamentally critical. And when people say, well, you're so busy thinking about equity, you've forgotten about excellence, I'll end on that note. That's wrong. It's not true. I'll debate anyone on that topic. Because if you don't have excellence, whether it's in career preparation, in the most rigorous academic programs, in dual enrollment so you can move ahead and plot your own course, if you don't have excellence, there is no equity. Who has ever aspired or wanted to support mediocre equity? Think about it. Think about it. There is no way, if we stop offering the highest, most rigorous programs that we're so famous for, in order to do something different. We have to do everything. And it's not high or low. It's high, low, and everything in between. And when I say low, I was probably my GPA was probably a 3.0 in high school, but my skills to go to college were very mediocre or maybe even below. Nobody ever thought I would go to college. So as you can see, I share that with you because I want you to understand it's both my professional mission and my personal story about who I am and where I came from that convinces me that every single kid, every single child can learn to read. You'll say, well, wait a minute, there are a few students. 95% of our students can learn to read. 93% of them can learn to read at grade level. If we get to that level, I'll stop preaching. But we're not close. They can learn to do math. They can learn to do the things they need to do in life, to do what they want to do, to benefit from their community and contribute back to it. That's what it's about. So it's a small taste of what we're up to. When I get to work in the morning, Craig, I'm going to send you some more data that follows this, that people can spend a lot of time looking at if they want, but I will sit down because we have 2 more schools to talk about.
All right. Let's give it back. So I want to thank Dr. Pollard before she steps up for opening up this beautiful building that is a prime example of our commitment to education and taking education to the next level. I'll just say a very, very, very quick anecdote. When we had a nursing shortage, we asked Montgomery College to step up. They did. When we had early childhood education issues and making sure that we had a pipeline of folks going in, we talked to Montgomery College. Montgomery College stepped up. When we said we have issues with biotech and we need to have and prepare the future when it comes to building that tech talent pipeline, so we need to have bioscience, Montgomery College stepped up. And most recently when it came to cyber, same thing. We asked Montgomery College, hey, we need to make sure that we're retooling, giving folks the opportunity if they've gone into a technical career pathway and they really want to go into cyber because they have so many jobs that are unfilled, and folks who've reached ceilings can go and enter into this and seamlessly go in. Montgomery College stepped up. Montgomery College continues to be an innovative partner, not only for Montgomery County, but for the future of this nation. Dr. Pollard.
Thank you. So, thank you. Let me start off by joining our provost of this campus, Margaret Latimer, and welcoming you here. If you've not been to our Germantown campus, I certainly encourage you to come back and visit. I also have sat a little bit too long, so I needed to stand up. Anybody else need to stand up and sit back down? Seriously. I won't be offended. You need to stand, stretch, do something. Please, see, there you go. I know somebody else needed to do it. Stand up, stretch, do something. And if you needed another stand hour on your watch, Dr. Terry, I am going to go ahead and do my walking around so I can get some steps in as well. I'm delighted to have you here, and I want to thank my people and join Councilmember Rice in thanking them, our Germantown campus, our campus safety, MCTV, our special events, our communications team, who worked with the Councilmember's office to make this event happen. Deeply grateful to you. You all continue to be the best part of what I get to do is work with phenomenal people. I want to thank Councilmember Rice for doing this. When he first started this, how many years ago have you been doing this? 4 years ago, I didn't quite get it because I'm like, everybody knows the budget in Montgomery County. Everybody should understand what we do. Half of the county's budget goes to education. So as a result of that, they have a clear understanding of what the county's priorities are. And then as I lived here for a little bit longer, I realized that was not the case at all. So as a result of that, I get to talk to you a little bit about Montgomery College as a part of this. And this expanded focus of looking at the state of education in Montgomery County, I think is a deeply needed one, because oftentimes we think of education as just being one segment. The reality is that if we want to continue to live, grow, and prosper in Montgomery County, we have to recognize this broader perspective of this. Because I can talk all day about Montgomery College and about the phenomenal students. My team gave me some specific things to say because they know that I can pontificate at any given point. So I'm going to try and stay on point and be done in 10 minutes so that we can pass it on to Dr. Edelstein and then be prepared to respond to questions and comments that you may have. But I also wanted to have at least one friendly face in the audience. I want to thank my wife for showing up because she also would be the one to tell me when it's time to sit down. You got a deal? So many of you will hear from time to time, and you've heard us talk about this education pipeline. We see our job as a very important one. We are the fulcrum in Montgomery County as it relates to the work that we do in terms of the education pipeline. When we look at what happens in the K-12 space, we look at what happens in the higher education space, but more important, when people would go to get jobs, Montgomery College sits in a very unique role in trying to advance these things within our county. We help close the skills gap for many of our residents who come here and need to begin to choose different careers, those who are moving into different spaces, those who recognize that where they are may not be the place where they want to be. This ecosystem is unique. So I was not born and raised in Montgomery County. I don't have the benefit of Councilmember Rice of being able to talk about MCPS, having been a student here. I would tell you that I tell Jack all the time, he has the most precious thing in my life in his school system. And as a result of that, I'm deeply invested in what happens in MCPS, deeply invested as someone who lives up county as we think about the work that's happening here. But I'm also deeply invested in what this means as somebody who plans to retire in Montgomery County. Y'all catch that? Right? So as a result of that, we all have to be very deliberate about seeing education, not just as something that's about other folks and about other issues, it's about all of us. And I dare to tell you that Montgomery County is very blessed to have the community college that he has. Now, I might be a little biased in that, but I can tell you that we do some exceptional work in this, and our job is to prepare students for 21st century work, doing skills for the economy that we want to enjoy in Montgomery County. Your community college, you should know this, but if you don't know it, now you're going to know, all right? Montgomery College this year will have the pleasure of serving over 53,000 students on 3 campuses, 2 workforce development centers, and a host of other spaces throughout Montgomery County. Montgomery College, here's my best thing I'd like to tell y'all, we are gloriously diverse. Gloriously diverse. Over 72% of our students are students of color. They come from over 152 countries. Hello, how are you? Countries in Montgomery County and in the country. So as a result of that, we take great pride in creating an environment where we believe in radical inclusion, that each and every person who comes to Montgomery College has the opportunity, dare I say the right, to feel that they have a space here and that we're going to meet them where they are. I will also tell you that we are second only to the University of Maryland College Park in terms of our undergraduate admissions. How many of you knew that? Now, you can't say if you work at Montgomery College, you don't have to say you know that. But if you didn't know that, now you know. I'm full of facts today. I'm trying to be like Jack, have lots of data for you, okay? And I tell my friend Wallace Lowe, whenever he wants to not admit just a few more students, I will be right there in terms of being the largest undergraduate institution in the state of Maryland. But we know that we serve a critical role in the Montgomery County, but also in the nation and certainly within the state of Maryland. And we have a diverse array of educational programs that we offer, and we do that because we know that we serve a unique role. Montgomery College is here for you. What's very important to us, anyone who wants high quality, and I'm going to say that, high quality, affordable post-secondary education, they come to this institution for that. From Whitman to Wheaton, we like alliteration. We like this because we know that every MCPS high school has students who attend Montgomery College. I'll also tell you that 51% of MCPS students who choose to stay in Maryland for college will attend Montgomery College. Many of them will come to us first right out of high school. Many of them will go away for a couple years or a year and realize that may not have been a good option for them. Many of them will come home on summer and winter breaks and come and take classes at Montgomery College. If you didn't know, now you know. Here's the other thing. When a student gets a degree quicker, we know that they enter the workforce earlier. You heard Jack talk quite a bit about our work in our early college program. This is something I'm particularly proud of. Dr. Elena Sines, working with our colleagues at MCPS, has done some exceptional work in designing a program. We were literally talking about this morning, because here's the thing. People say, well, you all should create some more special programs and create more special high schools. I believe that we don't need to be exceptional all the time. Let's be a little bit more ubiquitous, right? Let's put these opportunities, if not in every high school in Montgomery County, in every high school where it's needed. So as a result of that, how do we expand what we already do exceptionally well in early college and middle college, take that to the communities where it's most needed? We don't have to create specialized programs in 1 or 2 schools, send people all around the county. Let us do what we do best. Take our programs to the students that we serve in the communities where they live. We are very excited about these graduates that we're going to have this year. I love the fact that they will graduate oftentimes because just the calendar from Montgomery College a week or 2 before they get their high school diploma. But here's the crazy thing about this. They're equally excited about both of those things. If those 2 things can coexist in a county, that does make Montgomery County exceptional in how we do this work. We also are very proud to live in a state that recognizes and heard the fact that having people secure the opportunity to have post-secondary education provided to them, recognizing that affordability and poverty continues to be the #1 barrier to a college degree. Maryland's Community College Promise Scholarship, I put this out here. Those of you who don't know, now you know. March 1st, you need to go out and begin to apply for this. These scholarships help pay for college and complete a degree free from the financial burdens that oftentimes slow students to completion. Eligible students can receive up to $5,000 a year if they attend Montgomery College in using this particular, because there's certain processes you have to follow. This will allow them to have a significant amount of their college costs paid for. Now, be very clear, because people say, oh, free means they're not paying, they don't have skin in the game. One of my pet peeves when I hear that, because we forget the fact that folks still got to pay to eat, to get to school, to buy books, to buy supplies, to pay their rent, to buy groceries, to pay their health care. That doesn't mean that college is free. It just means that we recognize that an investment in these students perhaps would mean that there's a better investment in our community as well, because as I'm going to tell you in a moment, the majority of community college students who are educated at their local community college, guess where they end up staying at? Come on, talk to me, y'all. We've been sitting here for a little while. Where do they stay? They stay in the communities in which they came from. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. So go to this website. You have to complete a FAFSA or a Maryland State Financial Aid form. You also have the opportunity to get additional information on this website that tells you exactly how to do this. I'm going to tell you now, I can't wait till Miles gets, that dude we live with, I cannot wait until he is able to take advantage of this program, because I believe the fact that college is not going to get any cheaper, but here's an opportunity for me to help recognize that there are opportunities in high quality education is an option. So Montgomery College is where you need us. You're on our Germantown campus today. Here you can, sitting in our state-of-the-art Bioscience Education Center. This particular facility can help prepare students to become a cybersecurity professional, a lab worker, or a geneticist. I would encourage you, again, if you have not been to this campus, to come back and walk through the labs, and you will feel like you can be a scientist. I will also tell you that you can go to our Rockville campus, and our Rockville campus is equally spectacular. And this particular campus, we have the largest transfer engineering program in the country, where our students are able, we have about, how many students, 1,200 or so students? 1,400, hashtag numbers count. 1,400 students enrolled in our engineering program, where they have the ability to transfer to phenomenal programs across the country and become an engineer. We also have a Edelstein Technical Institute on that campus. So we talked about all those wonderful jobs, or plumbing, automotive technology, all of those skill sets. Those are jobs that we prepare for right on that particular campus. Our Tacoma Park, Silver Spring campus, I was just there the other day, and I'm always amazed that you walk into the Health Sciences building and it feels like a little hospital. You walk into this space, this is home to our Health Sciences program. You can become a nurse, an EKG technician, a sonographer, and so many other things on this campus. And all of our campuses, you can also earn your associate's degree working to transfer or go into specialized career options. But I'm particularly proud, and when we talk about, I want to suggest, Mr. Rice, on the sheet earlier, don't laugh at me, But when we have on there, we have the pipeline of K-12, community college, and then USG. We need to have these spin-outs as well, because a lot of our students don't come to us, come to my college in particular, saying that they want to earn their associate's degree. Many come to get short-term certificates, long-term certificates, and their job is to say, I want to go into work. Let me rephrase my verb. They need to work. Right? So as a result of that, we have the glorious part of our workforce development program doing exceptional work in Gaithersburg, Wheaton, and Rockville, where they are working to train students to become early child care professionals. I see all my purple child care people right back there. 911, yeah. You want a student to be a good student, you know if they have children, what they're thinking about. Who's taking care of my baby? Right? So we know for a fact those are important jobs. 911 dispatchers or clinical trial management. We are the new finishing school. People are coming to us who already have baccalaureate degrees, master's degrees, and realizing that the skill sets they have are not preparing them for the work that they need to be doing right now in the industries that need that. So we're quite pleased with the work we're doing in that space. Here it is. Here's my numbers, more numbers for you, right? 71% of graduates of Montgomery College stay in Montgomery County. So, y'all want a sure deal? You want a real bet? I can guarantee you an investment in Montgomery College is not just an investment in the lovely students who come here, all 53,000 of them. It's an investment in you, in the quality of life that you want to have in Montgomery County. So our graduates are employed all across this county. I have a list of them. The FDA, NIH, Data Prize, GlaxoSmithKline, Holy Cross Hospital, MCPS, Shapiro and Duncan, and dare I say Montgomery College, because I will hire some of my own, because I know they have exceptional education, right? But our alum do significant work. For 75 years, we have prepared people to step into the leadership roles of this county, whether it be in business and other enterprises. Alumni like Jim Muir, you'll probably see him, business leader and vice president of Hughes Network System. He's also an economic development leader, moving Montgomery County as he chairs our PIC-MC board here, actually on this Germantown campus. Saul Graham, longtime community leader, innovator, and founder of Quality Biologic, which employs almost 30 people to develop and manufacture high-quality research elements. Julie Veretti, an entrepreneur and creator of Denison's Brewery Company. I should also say former, also ran for lieutenant governor in the last election. She's a leader in the microbrewing industry and an advocate for Montgomery County's business and entrepreneurs. But I'm not done yet. Carl Book, business leader and president of Book Construction, which employs 160 people and also provides a talent pipeline by helping to raise dollars for Montgomery College scholarships. And certainly Usa Bunang, who is a business leader who built a dental practice that employs people in Bethesda and Silver Spring and is also an award-winning humanitarian. These students continue to change our lives as well. Montgomery College empowers not only those who have been in the county and doing the work, but those who are coming up in the county right now. Some of our alum are doing the high-skill work that we need to be seeing right now. Alum such as Tariq Uden, a Clarksburg High School graduate who came to Montgomery College, earned a degree then from the University of Maryland, and is now an engineer at NIST, the National Institute for Standards and Technology. We have Shruti Mistry. She got her start at MC, earned a degree from Georgia Tech, then a master's degree from Johns Hopkins. Today, she is a biomedical engineer at the FDA. We have Jose Chavez, another Clarksburg in the house, and he earned his degree at Montgomery College. Then he moved to University of Maryland. Today, he works at Leidos as a software developer. Ian Latinsky, a lifelong Montgomery County resident. He came to MC, then earned his degree at Maryland as well. Today, he is the Chief Technology Officer of Learn Zillion, a company that provides MCPS math curriculum for grades 6 through 8. Don't you love that? And then Catherine Shelton, she came to Montgomery College and then enlisted in the United States Air Force. After serving in the military, she then came back to MC. She went on to earn her degree from Maryland and then worked at Northrop Grumman as an aerospace engineer. Today, she's an engineer with the Johns Hopkins Applied Sciences Lab. So I know for a fact the investment that you make in your community college is an investment in Montgomery County. Our alums not only fuel the workforce, they also boost our economy. A recent study in 2016, and we're actually going to do the study again now, shows that thousands of Montgomery College employees who are working in Montgomery County added $1.1 billion to the county's income. You catch that, Mr. Rice? $1.1 billion. He knows. I just like to tease him because then he can go back and tell all the colleagues is what I like to be able to say. So I'm going to end telling you a little bit about our budget for this next coming year. We are grateful to be in Montgomery County. And I'm going to say this, I've worked in other places, and I've been in Montgomery County 10 years, and I choose to be here for very specific reasons. One, I work with talented people who are deeply dedicated to the mission and to the community that we serve. I would put them up against anybody who works in higher education today. But I'd also tell you, I choose to live in Montgomery County because this is a county that puts its money where its mouth is. It's a county that invests in the community because they recognize that budgets reflect your priorities. And if you're going to make those priorities real, you have to put the resources there. So what I can tell you is that we are asking the county very deliberately to continue to support the work they have already begun to invest in. As you drove onto this campus, you're in a bioscience education facility. We have a brand new math and science facility in our Rockville campus. Has been there now about 5 years, no, more than that, almost 10 years, that science facility, and then we added math to it. We need the same thing at Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus. So our Catherine Isaiah Leggett Math and Science Building will allow us to provide modern classrooms on that campus for students who are studying in our math and science programs. Libraries. My colleagues from, I don't know where they sat, from the Children's Opportunity Fund, where'd they go? Are they still here? Yeah, we're coming in, and came here early, and they were saying, read across Montgomery, I made up the name, March 2nd. So they said, I hope you would go out and read. And I said, the one thing that I tell people all the time, that a library saved my life. And it was where I learned how to read. It exposed me to a different world in the south side of Chicago where I grew up in. And the thing that I miss the most now, as my child now is just turned 13, is I don't get to sit and read to him. So I look forward to being a part of your reading program that day because libraries are essential to colleges. There are places where students go and have resources, but it's also where they can have safe spaces to learn and be supported. So we need that. Our Germantown Student Services Center, that continues to be a priority on this campus. And then deferred maintenance. So the minute we build a building, we just open one next door. As soon as you open it, I guarantee you 6 months later, there's deferred maintenance that already starts. So we're continuing to look at that, the infrastructure for the backlog of things that we have, in particular in terms of IT, safety, and security. Our operating budget request this year. Mr. Rice, I should move up to favored agency status. So our budget this year was designed with fiscal prudence in mind. We have an eye on the future. We have a new strategic plan that will start next year. We're taking time to be responsive to the environment. So we know what's happening. We looked at we scanned the environment internal to the county, outside of the county, within the state and nation, and we recognized what can we do with what we have and began to maximize our existing resources. So we are not asking for an increase in the county's contribution to our budget. Now, I also am going to ask you to help me with the state, because the state seems to have forgotten its commitment to community colleges. Now, you want to hold my notes for me right quick so I can say this? Because I'm a little worked up about this. You mentioned it earlier about the CAVE formula. So I just figured finally after 10 years start to understand the CAVE formula, that a percentage of what goes to the University System of Maryland comes to the community college. Roughly for every $1 that goes to University System of Maryland, the community colleges get 27%, 20 cents, 26, 27 cents. So what happens when we say this formula is not what we're going to follow anymore, when you haven't even actualized the formula since it was created 15 years ago? So now the governor has suggested, I'm going to fund you all according to the formula, but I'm going to submit what we call the BRFA. And the BRFA, don't you love the way that sounds? who makes up a word called BRFA? But the BRFA, where I'm going to say, I'm going to propose to eliminate your formula. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to cut what I've also said I was going to give you according to the formula because I have to have money to do this other stuff over here. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. So I'm going to be fired up. I'll take my nose back. I'm sorry. And as a result of this, I'm going to be asking Councilmember Rice and everybody to remember that the potential loss to us, because if we're not going to ask the county to contribute anymore, because we're blessed to live in the county we have and what they do, I'm not asking my students to pay anymore. We have not proposed a tuition increase in this next year. I need the state to live up to its commitments. I'm not asking for the Kirwan Commission. I'm not asking for that. I just need my $3 million. That's all I need. That's all I need. And if we can hold that, not no B's. Now, if I could put a B out there, but I'd just be happy for the M, all right? So this is what we're asking for, and we're going to continue to do that by also providing fair and reasonable compensation increases for our faculty and staff and being accountable for the work that we have. So we're proud to be with our partners here. I was thinking sometimes I feel like Gladys Knight near the Pips because I get to spend time with Jack and Stu quite frequently because we talk about what's happening in the pipeline for education in Montgomery County. We know for a fact that we are ready to provide homegrown talent for today's and tomorrow's jobs, and we do that because we have a unique ecosystem here in Montgomery County to do that. With that, thank you for letting me talk for a little bit, and I will turn it over to Dr. Edelstein.
So thank you very much, Dr. Pollard. Mary, before you leave, I want to acknowledge Mary Geis with President Katz's office. Thank you very much for being here, as well as Ken Reichert, who's from Senator Ben Cardin's office. And Senator Cardin is actually a co-sponsor of the PACT Act, so we don't need to spend our time with Ken Reichert, but we do need to reach out to our other colleagues that are in the state that are congressional representatives when it comes to supporting that bill. So please tell the senator thank you for his support of Senator Van Hollen's bill. That's incredibly important. So I also serve one of my other hats. You know, this is the reason why my children say they never see me, is I'm actually on the board of advisors for universities at Shady Grove. I want to say that up front in full disclosure because of what I'm about to say. Universities at Shady Grove, I think, is one of Montgomery County's best kept secrets. And it's unfortunate. It really is, because when you create this paradigm when you create this synergy between Montgomery College and universities at Shady Grove, there are so many in our community that could actually have access to a great, affordable, high-quality education and don't realize that it's right in front of them. Universities at Shady Grove represents a large number of University System of Maryland institutions that all have a varied number of degree opportunities that allow for you to continue to pursue your ability to attain a bachelor's degree at an affordable price right here in Montgomery County. And the most important piece of that is that for those who need to take care of someone, for those who need to work while they're going to school, for those who need this education the most at the most affordable and convenient way in which it can be delivered, Universities at Shady Grove offers just that. Dr. Stu Edelstein.
Okay, outstanding and stuff. One, let me thank Craig for inviting me and inviting USG and for his public service, not just for Montgomery County's education, but our state and our nation. So congratulate you and thank you so much. I also want to thank DeRionne and Jack for leading incredible educational assets in this county and for their commitment to collaboration with me and University of Shady Grove in support of all students and all members of our community so that they can live a better life and get the education they need to develop their careers. So thank you so much for your colleagueship. Appreciate it. USG, University of Shady Grove, we're the new kid in the block. Craig indicated we were established about 20 years ago because there was no public university in Montgomery County. And educational, business, political leadership in the 1990s recognized that there was a need for more access to baccalaureate and graduate work, and they asked the university system to put a campus in Montgomery County, and USG was the answer that was developed, and we established ourselves in the year 2000 to expand access to university education at baccalaureate and the graduate level. Let me explain a little bit about how USG operates. So we are a partnership campus. We have 9 public universities that are in the university system that bring their undergraduate and graduate degrees into the county. At the undergraduate level, we are a 2+2 institution. So our largest partner in all of our programs articulate with Montgomery College. Students start at the associate degree level, receive an associate degree, and then they transfer seamlessly to programs that are offered at the junior and senior year so students can complete the baccalaureate degree. So as an example, if you are a student who's starting out in Montgomery College and you want to get an accounting baccalaureate degree, you're a business major at Montgomery College, University of Shady Grove has the Smith School of Business, which offers the accounting bachelor's degree. You apply to College Park through USG or directly to College Park. You say, I've completed an articulated accounting associate's degree. I want to be admitted into the University of Maryland College Park, into the Smith School of Business. I want to take my curriculum at the universities at Shady Grove. College Park needs to admit you. They admit you into the program that's offered at USG. The program at USG is taught by College Park faculty. It's their curriculum. And when you graduate, you get a degree from University of Maryland College Park, not from University of Shady Grove. We don't offer any degrees. We make it possible for all of our university partners to offer their degrees in Montgomery County so students can complete those degrees without having to leave Montgomery County. That is the model, and it's a very successful model, and it's allowed us to grow a large number of programs that we offer here in the county. We are all about collaboration. I'm going to talk a little bit more about collaboration and what that means, because I think we're talking about pathway, we're talking about career preparation, talking about academic preparation, and the ability for students to work in the county and in the region. This is a list of the current degrees that are offered by our university partners. There's about 70+ degrees that are being offered. The degrees are that are offered on their home campus in some cases, and in some cases the degrees have been developed by our university partners for the workforce in Montgomery County. All the degrees are designed to support workforce needs in the county and the region. So we have a large nursing program. 320 students are in the nursing program that is offered by the University of Maryland School of Nursing. It's the largest off-site nursing program in the state of Maryland, and it's slated to grow. There's pharmacy, there's education, there's business. College Park is offering business, UMBC is offering psychology. There's cybersecurity. So all of the degrees are focused on what the workforce needs in the region and the county are. So this is about pathways. So one of the sort of underlying philosophies I have, and I think my colleagues have as well, we don't have a talent gap in our society, we have an opportunity gap. Many, many talented people are going through Montgomery County Public Schools, Montgomery College, or in our society, they don't have the opportunity to get the education that will allow them to develop their skills, develop their passions, to grow and make the contributions that they're capable of making, they want to make, because we don't provide the opportunity for them to get the education that they want. So what we do, we work very closely with Montgomery County Public Schools, Montgomery College, in creating education pathways. We started doing this work with Montgomery College because the largest percentage of students coming into our campus is Montgomery College. About 75% of the undergraduate students are coming from Montgomery College. But we recognized that if we wanted to do the work well, we needed to start way before our work with Montgomery College. We needed to start work with Montgomery County Public Schools. One of the programs that we started 7 years ago, I think, was the ACES program, Achieving Collegiate Excellence Success. This is a program which identifies first-generation students, minority students generally, and students who are having financial challenges. And this provides them a support system through Montgomery College, on-site in 14 high schools. We move those students with coaches through the education pathway to Montgomery College. They get the same kind of support. They're an integrated support system. They move from Montgomery College to USG. This is our effort to try to identify and support students who we know have talent, have interests, but they have challenges. And we're there to help them to deal with those challenges, whether they're financial, academic, or otherwise. And it's a very successful program. I think it's one of the model programs in the state of Maryland that looks to us to help them understand better these pathway issues. We've got other pathway programs that we've developed, and all of these pathways are to support better alignment curricularly between Montgomery County Public Schools, Montgomery College, provide support services to students as they're moving through the pathway, give them opportunities to develop career and work readiness skills, and basically say, we want you to be successful. We're making a commitment to you. And this is the pathway that if you follow, we will support you in this effort all the way through. This is one of the unique features of USG. We all know that one of the biggest challenges that people have generally, and especially students of low-income families, is the challenge of supporting themselves and getting their college education paid for. The pathway from Montgomery College to USG is actually a very cost-effective pathway. This data demonstrates what it would cost if you graduated out of MCPS and you went to one of our university partners. If you were able to do that, the expenses that you'd have to pay for tuition, let alone the costs of dormitories and other things. And it also interferes with your ability to work if you need to support yourself. So there are lots of challenges if you go to the main campuses. Not that it's a bad thing to do, but it's not for everybody, and it deters people from getting their education. If you go the Montgomery College to main campus route, it's less expensive, but it's still fairly expensive. If you go the Montgomery College to USG route, you stay in the county, you live in the community, we don't have any dormitories, and you save yourself a considerable amount of money. So the design there is to support students who have economic challenges and get the opportunity that they need through this very unique pathway that we've developed, because students are getting access to quality degrees while staying in the county. Next slide, please. One of the other benefits of USG is that when a student applies to a home campus for admission into a program offered at USG, they get access to financial support. So the university will provide them with Pell Grants or scholarship funds or loans. And then USG raises money from the community, and we supplement the scholarships that students receive over and above what they get from their home campuses. And about 50% of the students at USG are receiving some financial aid from USG in addition to what they're receiving at their home campuses. And as a consequence of that, fewer students. We know that one of the issues with regard to college attendance, many low-income students are risk averse. They don't want to take out loans. They're concerned about debt. And so as a consequence of the work that we do, about 36% of our undergraduate students are borrowing money compared to about 44% of students who are at the USM campuses. So we reduce the debt that students, and we actually have a large percentage of students who graduate debt-free, which is unique, and it's important so they can start their lives without having the burden of having to worry about paying back significant debt. Next slide. Oh, I just would repeat the benefits of USG. Because of the work that we do, we provide a lot of services on site. It's a campus. It has student clubs, it's student activities. It looks like a campus. It functions like a campus, except we have non-university partners apart from departments. But as a consequence of the work that we do, the work that we do with MC and preparing students, they come to us very well prepared. We have the highest graduation rate in the university system for students who transfer from a community college to a university. 75% of the students over a 4-year period who come to USG, it's a little bit higher actually if they come from Montgomery College, about 76%, but nonetheless pretty good. But 75%, 76% of those students will graduate in the 4-year period. The university average for students who go from community colleges to our university partners is 52%. So more than 20% point lower. You have a better chance of graduating with a college degree if you follow the pathway to USG than you do if you attend any one of the university campuses in our system, and many of them are at USG. The other thing about USG, because we live in Montgomery County, because we're getting our students from Montgomery College, we have the most diverse campus in the state. We have 50% of our students are first generation, and there is no majority population at USG. As a matter of fact, I think our Caucasian population is somewhere between 26 and 30%. So this is and we applaud the diversity because it enriches the life of every student. We can make those students successful. We can give them opportunities. We know that most of the students who are graduating out of the undergraduate programs, some go on to graduate work, either at USG or other places, but about 90% of the students are actually working in the state or in the region. So a very high percentage of our students are staying local. One of the reasons why they're coming to USG is because they need a local option to complete their degree, and we support them in that way. Many of the students work. Many of the students are working part-time or full-time. They can still attend USG. In some cases, they're working 1 or 2 jobs and also going full-time as well. USG is on a growth mode. We know that in our economy, and particularly in the state of Maryland, it's a tech economy. And we are very proud of the fact that we recently opened our biomedical sciences and engineering education facility. I want to thank the county because this is a project that started somewhat 7 years ago, and we would not have been able to build this building had not the county, which is very unusual. We're a state facility. We receive money from the state of Maryland. We don't get any county money to support the activities at USG, although there's a lot of activity that the county is pushing us to do for them. And the county was so interested in this project, which built a biomedical sciences engineering building, that they actually provided $20 million in capital dollars to build a garage because we were losing parking spaces on our campus to build this $175 million building, which is going to bring biomedical sciences, engineering, computer science. We have 3 university partners that are working with us: College Park, UMBC, and University of Maryland College Park. Some of these programs are offered on their home campuses and will be offered at USG. Many of them are new degrees. Translational life science is a good example of that. Embedded systems and the Internet of Things is another example of that. Biocomputational engineering from College Park, mechatronics. Those are all new degrees that are not being offered on their home campuses. They're only being offered at USG because they fit the economy that is going to drive Montgomery County's economic development. So we're very proud of this building. We're proud of what we're going to be able to do. These programs, many of them at the undergraduate level, are embedded in the pathway work that we talked about earlier. This is a really unique opportunity. We've got Montgomery College and MCPS leading the way in dual admission, and we're about to move into the next phase of that, which is guaranteed admission, moving from Montgomery College into USG. And in fact, that admission would start with early identification of students in the high school. So this is a really unique opportunity to build strong pathways. There are tens of thousands of jobs in the technology fields in the state of Maryland that are going unfilled because the employers can't find students who graduated with the right skill sets. This building and the work that we do together is going to provide students with those skills so that they can actually take advantage of those jobs. They drive the economy as a consequence of that. Steve, do we have the film that you can show, or not here? Okay, so that is the story for us, and I thank you for the opportunity.
So I really want to thank my partners. They gave of their time this evening to come here and talk about the great work that's going on within each of their institutions. I think you heard and understood all of them in saying that, look, especially when it comes to MCPS, we know that we still have work that needs to be done. We are not perfect, just as we are as a county government, nor any of the institutions. And we continue to evolve and change based on the need that we see in our community. And so I really think that this new synergy that we have that's been going on for a few years now is helping to shape an even better system for everyone. It really is creating equity and opportunity, the things that we care about most, the things that we know are going to affect a lot that we care about in our community. I know we have some questions that are here. I'm going to take some of these that we have. Do we have some? They're already. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to go through these quickly, and I'm going to be like the moderator, guys. So, and I'm going to turn to my colleagues and ask them to answer some of these questions. Again, if you have questions, there are folks, my staff are standing up, and they have the bowls. They'll collect questions from you. The first one: what will the county and Board of Education do to reduce disparity in resources between schools in wealthier zip codes and those in poorer zip codes? Dr. Smith, I'll turn that to you, sir.
So we could talk about that for several hours, so I'm going to give you the short answer. But tomorrow we're going to send you also a link, if you've signed up tonight, called Budget 101 on our website, and it gives you all the information and a couple of other links, and one of them is to our resource allocation study we just did. So what it showed clearly is actually within the schools, across the 135 elementary schools, we allocate significantly more resources to the schools from 65% poverty and above, and quite a bit more resources from 35% poverty to 65 than we do to the schools under 35% poverty. We're not doing as well. We do some differentiation at the middle and high school level, but that's an area that we need to improve in when we think about it. Around the community contribution, next year's budget holds a fund that we have worked with the County Council of PTAs and with internally with our offices and schools. And so for the first time, schools will be able to contribute to the fund, individuals will be able to contribute to the fund, the school system has put seed money in there for the fund, and based on a school's community's capacity to provide additional enrichment programs, field trips, cultural activities in the school, then there's money there that schools will be able to access. So our more affluent schools, the ones that have foundations, for example, they won't try to access. They don't need it, but they will contribute to it voluntarily. We're not forcing anybody or demanding anybody do it. And Melissa, you just cued me, and we also put in a fund for the arts, especially around instruments for music, so that schools that don't have the same student population with the capacity to buy instruments, like my parents didn't have that capacity at all. So if I'd wanted to play an instrument in school, I would have had to use one of the schools. So we've put pretty significant contribution so that schools where the community doesn't have that same economic capacity will be able to access those funds to make sure students get that access. So that's two ways that we're working on that right now.
Excellent. I'm going to turn this next question to Dr. Edelstein. With a focus on early childhood education, has Universities at Shady Grove looked into bringing a university program that could offer a part-time early childhood BA major that allows for part-time early childhood students to transfer to?
We offer a degree in early childhood education. Unfortunately, it is not a part-time degree. We have talked about working with Towson University in this case, they're interested, but we've not been able to deal with all of the regulatory issues and also the ways in which students have to do their practice teaching. I think it's a need. I think we should be working through that issue, and I've committed myself to doing that, but there's still some challenges to that.
So Dr. Pollard, I'm going to ask you this question. For students that do not have a support system at home, what should folks be doing to keep them motivated to stay in school and continue their education? This person's a graduate student from John F. Kennedy and didn't hear about the different programs that are available in culinary arts and cosmetology certification, even dual enrollment. What are we doing to promote these programs in all schools?
So I think we're doing a series of things that would be useful to share. One is that we are, I think it has to be a stratified process. One is that we're working to ensure that those people who work within the schools are aware of the programs that we offer. Just a couple weeks ago, I was actually working with one of my colleagues, and we went and talked to high school principals, and we brought in students to talk about those experiences. We'll be doing the same thing with middle school principals. So there's a whole education component where we're actually taking Montgomery College employees who specialize in any number of different program areas to go in and talk about the delivery of those programs. Secondly, I do believe I have one of the best communication teams in community colleges, and one of the things that they're doing is looking at how we use social media and other forms of communication to put that information directly out to families and to young people and to those who can help share that information in ways that are very important. The other thing, we have a community engagement area that's working very deliberately to take those programs and information about those programs into those partners with us. So one of the things that we know is that while we think that we're accessible and we think that we are open access, we also have come to realize that we also are still a bureaucracy for some people. So the idea of accessing who we are and what we do, we may need to go into a space where people feel trusted and safe to be able to partner. So we partner with the Ethiopian Community Center. We're working in our jails. We're working with our regional centers to be able to do that. So I think we are having a multilateral way of being able to do that. And if people have other suggestions, I have lots of people that we would be able to receive that feedback.
Excellent, thank you. Dr. Smith, I've got one for you. I would like to ask about bullying and harassment reporting. I think victims should not have to report to security guards their abuse without a counselor or administrator there to act as an advocate and support person. Currently, I believe there is not such a requirement. Oh, it's from Twitter. Okay, thank you.
So there is no requirement on who you report to in schools, but one of the things we've been working hard on is making it more accessible to report and to do it in a variety of different ways. For example, we've put online digitally, or we're getting ready, if it hasn't been put up yet, it's going to be put up very soon, digitally the bullying report form that then can be done digitally, so you don't even have to talk to anyone. But if that's a and you said it's Twitter, but when we hear about something like that, or if you experience that, please contact your school principal or contact the central office. If you don't know any other number to call my number. We'll get back to you. It's so critically important that we intervene at the moment that it happens, but we're looking for every possible way for students to report and to help students who do those kind of behaviors to understand that that is the first step in a long road of not very good life if you are a bully. And so we really want to help all students, whether they're victims of that or they're involved in the actual activity. And we're trying to do that with our restorative justice program and many other ways of teaching and helping students learn about how to relate to one another and deal with one another just in the same way we as adults need to do that every day, all the time. So.
Yeah, the interesting thing, I just want to chime in on that, is that it'll start there and it'll continue through college and graduate school and then into the workplace. And I promise you that every single person who's in the workplace knows or has heard of a workplace bully. And so those are folks who never got the treatment. And so I agree with Dr. Smith completely that we need to make sure that that treatment's there not only for the victim and to protect the victim, but also to treat the person who feels the way they do about themselves, that they have to then act out on somebody else. Incredibly important.
One reason why people are terminated from a job for bad behavior toward other people or poor human relation skills.
All right. So I have a question that I'm actually going to take as your moderator because it's a tax question, and I'm going to do it very quickly to try and maintain my political balance here. It says, how do we repeal the Ficker Amendment and have tax increases be made by a supermajority of the council? So just to answer that civic question, because it's a civics question, that Ficker Amendment was actually put on by a ballot initiative. And so another individual could certainly get the signatures necessary to create another ballot initiative to take us back to where we were before. One of the interesting things about the unique thing about this, and I'll talk about this just very quickly, is that the Ficker Amendment actually mandates that a supermajority has to vote for us to raise property taxes above the charter limit. The charter limit keeps our limiting in taxes, and what that does is that restricts the county council from, in a time of great need or a time of investment like what we're looking at with Kirwan, for us to be able to help to be able to pay for some of that. So again, I'm not preaching for a tax increase. What I am saying is that there's flexibility. Your elected officials are always held accountable. Trust me, I know. And it's incredibly important for us to make sure that we try and maintain as much of that flexibility as possible. So I think I tried to balance that as much as possible. All right. We talked about this a little bit, Dr. Smith, so I'm going to throw this one to you. What are financial education initiatives that are happening in the 135 elementary schools, the 45 middle schools, and the 25 high schools?
So by Maryland state regulation, we have to offer financial literacy education and want to, because we know we talk a lot about Be Well 365 and student well-being. That goes to the heart of our well-being all throughout our life, is to have the resources available to us and use them in a way that we are sustainable as people and as families. So in elementary school, we do early education in middle elementary grades around the beginnings of understanding the value of money, simple economic systems, how things work, kind of how does it fit into your community, your life, your space. Then in 7th grade, we take every single 7th grader to Finance Park that's located on the top floor of the new Edison school. My dream is in the next few years to have a second one up county, so no student has to ride a bus more than 15 or 20 minutes to get to that site. And it is busy every school day of the year. And then we have lots of other groups that go through. If you ever want to see it, we can arrange for you to go and visit and see what it's like. But every student spends a full day there. In 8th grade, there's additional learning that takes place in different subject areas. And then in high school, at the end of national, state, and local government, or local, state, and national government, get in the right order, then there is a multi-week unit after that course ends where we teach financial literacy concepts again to our students at their oldest point. So it's recursive through elementary, middle, and high school. And we want to make sure our students walk out the door knowing and understanding how they can take care of their physical, social, and psychological well-being, but also their economic well-being, because it affects those other three so much.
Excellent. So I'm going to turn this on its head a little bit in terms of the question so that I can swing this to Dr. Pollard. This was originally directed at County Council and Board of Education, but I think it represents something that we're all concerned about in the education space, and that's the mental health of our students and our student population. Talk a little bit about what Montgomery College is doing specifically when it comes to supporting our students, understanding the stresses not only outside of the classroom that they have to deal with, but also inside as academic rigor and all those things increase.
So I think, first of all, we're doing some things around public awareness. We as a nation, perhaps as a generation, we still don't know how to talk about mental health and to talk about it as a companion to other types of health and wellness. So we are, on each of our campuses, we have teams of folks who deliver programming to students to talk very deliberately about mental health and the resources that are available on the campus, but also in the community. In addition to that, we have on each of our campuses a behavioral intervention team. This is a team of college employees who are very thoughtfully engaged around students who self-report or peers report or a faculty staff report behavior that would be questionable and things that we're very concerned about in terms of that person's ability to keep themselves and others safe. So we have that team in place to do that work. And then finally, we're constantly in a state of very specialized programming that we have around special issues around our college campus. Those who are survivors of sexual assault and molestation, being very deliberate about talking about Title IX issues and how you can feel safe within a college campus. So we're doing, I think, a series of things to help be very intentional about that.
Excellent. I've got a question, Dr. Smith, for you that talks about IEP plans being enforced throughout all schools. If you could very quickly, we've only got a couple of minutes left, and I want to try and get through these last 5 questions. Just talk about how these plans are being enforced throughout school. What are the policies regarding MCPS and IEPs?
An IEP for a student receiving special education services, and of my 5 children, 2 of them had IEPs. They were adopted, so they were ESOL students with IEPs. So I've sat on that side of the table. So if an IEP is not being enforced, then that is the responsibility of the school to make sure they make the adjustments. And if it is not happening at your school, then your next step is to contact our central office. Kevin Lowndes is the associate superintendent. Phil Lynch is the director. If it's not being enforced, then there are very specific processes to have that looked at and adjudicated. And we need and want to do that, because our goal is every student and they get what they need. And sometimes adults struggle to understand one another, but we want to focus on that IEP and make sure that we're seeing the progress that is appropriate or change the IEP and the services we're given. So those would be the recourse: to call the central office, talk to Phil Lynch, talk to Kevin Lowndes, and we'll use the processes that are available to make sure it happens.
Excellent. All right, so I have a very quick one here that I'll take dealing with community school models. It says in today's Washington Post, there was an article on the success of the community schools in New York City. Do we see the community school model with our own modifications as a way forward for Maryland to narrow the gap? Absolutely. Again, full wraparound services, mental health, ensuring that we have workforce development for the parents, as well as English language acquisition if needed. All of the things, and extracurricular activities, all of those things encompass a true community school. We have some schools who do some of that and are community-like, but we don't have a fully functioning community school yet. We have some that are very close. South Lake in Montgomery Village is very close, but it's still not there yet. So yes, there is much benefit. Yes, please, go ahead, John.
In this budget that we're proposing, there is a broad stakeholder-based committee that will work on creating a Montgomery County Public Schools model for community schools. And a year from right now, I'll be talking about the 1 or 2 that we want to pilot that next year. And there is an intersection between our innovative calendar school years and community wraparound services and how all those fit together. So a year from right now, we'll be planning to launch an evolution of what we've already been doing so well through linkages and those other programs.
Dr. Pollard, you mentioned libraries. I'm going to wrap up with this last question. You mentioned libraries, and I apologize, there are 2 other good questions here, and we'll make sure that we address them. Given that libraries play such a large role in early childhood literacy, and such literacy is crucial to our children getting ready for educational success, should libraries not be at the table with us discussing these, the state of education?
I think that's a really great question. I do think it's, and I think the council has recognized that in that they've expanded the education committee. Used to be education, now it's education and culture, which encompasses libraries. So I think it's a very good point that we should be thinking about adding them. But I think the other thing is that we also as a society have to continue to place that emphasis and value on libraries. I grew up in libraries and knew what the purpose of them are, but I also know that right now our tendency is to think about accessibility and ease, and we're more prone to hit the Amazon button versus going out and actually thinking about how a library can be supportive. Great point.
Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. I want to thank Dr. Smith, Dr. Pollard, Dr. Edelstein. I also want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Again, March 4th is our next one at Northwood High School. I hope that you can make it. Take care, God bless, and get home safe.
Have you been to the